We are back with you live once again on another Johnny Torch live broadcast. Here we are, seated high atop the fair metropolis below in stately Torch Tower on another lovely Saturday afternoon. The only way to spend your Saturday here with us on the Johnny Torch live program. Program number 254 today. Very hot and muggy day still here in the Northeast. But again, I'm going to suffer through no fan, no air conditioning, just to make sure the audio quality is perfect. And I have to admit, as I mentioned on Twitter, one of my lamps aren't working too well. My ear is kind of blocked, and it sounds like I'm echoing in my own head. But it is a banner day for the Torch family because issue number 8, Bullets Bourbon number 8, Temptation Eyes, is now listed on Indie Planet, making it ready for purchase. Now, it has been available for purchase at the... Get the image up here for you of the cover. It's been available for purchase at my live appearances at the flea market. If you want to know my flea market appearances, take a look at the link in the description below. You'll find out where the directions on where to be. Now, I'm pretty much done with the flea market appearances. I'm trying to psych myself up for maybe one more appearance. So stay tuned on Twitter. Again, you'll find the link in the description below if I do decide to venture out one more time, that you can actually see yours truly in person and buy an autographed copy from me, because that's the only way you're going to be able to get one. Unfortunately, what's going on with Wix, which is my website, is you have to sign up for a premium plan or something, and I couldn't list this one on my website and have it accessible with PayPal. Now, I could get a P.O. box, which is something I've been contemplating doing for a long time, so that I could handle check and money orders and stuff. But that's kind of an unnecessary thing. I don't think too many people really use check and money order anymore, so I don't know if it's really that important, but to do that. But now that it's listed on Indie Planet, there is no excuse in the world for you not to get your hands on a copy of this magnificent issue. And I have to say, and we're going to talk about the story, we're going to talk about the series overall in general. I kind of hold back on talking about these things because I kind of feel like, you know, it's difficult to talk about. You know what I mean? I think I've said this kind of metaphor before, but it's kind of hard to talk about your family and be like, you know, it sounds braggadocio. You know, my kid is a doctor and he's at the top of his class and this and that. But I have to be braggadocio when I talk about the Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye, because it is, in fact, it's going to be eventually hailed as the greatest comic book series of all time. If not now, then someday in the near future. I'm sure once enough people have actually read said saga. We're on issue number 8 now, Temptation Eyes. We're in the middle of a storyline where Carrot Top, Bullets Bourbon's main arch nemesis, and I've got a few images here. I'm going to try to flip through some of these images here to give you some different things to see here. It's a little bit difficult on StreamYard to just flip through these, but and of course I didn't have the right image up. I don't have an image of Carrot Top. Carrot Top is the main nemesis of Bullets Bourbon. Here is my website. You can take a look at the upper left-hand corner there. You see the button that says Indie Planet. That will take you to my listings of all the Bullets Bourbon saga in the Indie Planet website. That way you can find any issue you want. You can find the collections if you want. I would much prefer that you buy the collections because they've been remastered. I spared no expense in remastering the first 3 storylines. Now, fortunately, I feel that I'm at the top of my game. I really don't need to remaster anymore. So I don't know if I'm going to put these. Well, we're in the second part of a 3-act story arc. So when I do get the third issue in this arc out, I don't know if I'm going to make a collection too soon. I mean, imagine eventually. But again, as I said before, that's kind of the fun of comics, was sort of to trace down the different issues and to wait for the next issue to come out and to see the different covers on the issues and kind of speculate what's going to happen. My whole motivation, so to speak, is to recapture those days of when I was a kid. And I don't think enough kids really know what that's like these days. But being a kid in the 90s, you went to it didn't even have to be the comic shop because they were everywhere. You went to the local drugstore. In my case, it was Osco. I don't know if they still exist. I think I did see somewhere someone mentioning an Osco. They might still exist somewhere, but in the Northeast, they're pretty much gone. But I would go to the Osco. There'd be a rack. I'd grab Superman, Spider-Man, Batman, a host of others. And it was that feeling of that looking forward to the next month's comic. Now, unfortunately, in my case, I can't, since this is a one-man operation pretty much, I can't give you a 24-page issue every month. I can pretty much give you a 24-issue page a year, 24-issue page comic a year. This one in particular, Temptation Eyes, did take me the better part of a year. I don't know exactly. I think it might have been 9 months, 10 months, a little bit longer than it usually takes me. But I spared no expense. As I said, I made sure that the backgrounds were as gorgeous as I wanted them to be. I played with the coloring, made neon lighting, as you can see in the cover, the background there. There's like a neon border on the walls, at the top and bottom of the walls. Of course, it's a speakeasy that most of this takes place in, so there's a lot of pool tables, pool balls, and different looking characters, because of course this is the fruit salad mob and the vegetable garden gang at war with one another. And Bullets goes undercover and joins forces with Veronica, the femme fatale that is working for Carrot Top. Before we get too much into the story right now, let me take you into the website. Also, I have down here below, I've listed all the issues, the collections. The first 3 here are the collections. Bullets Bourbon #1, It's Always Something. Bullets Bourbon meets his arch nemesis, Carrot Top. And Carrot Top is a lot of fun. Again, I haven't the image of him right here, but that's probably in my live appearances. That's the one comment that I get the most. Carrot Top. Oh, I saw him once. Now, this is a different Carrot Top. This one is actually amusing. But and Carrot Top is the arch nemesis. I've always described him as sort of the Lex Luthor to Bullets Bourbon Superman. Pickle Puss is his major domo, and he's sort of the Otis. And another inspiration for Carrot Top was, of course, Murdoch from MacGyver. He's the bad guy that always gets away. Bullets Bourbon has never been able to bring him to justice. And in this episode, in this issue, or starting in issue 7, actually, the obsession with capturing Carrot Top begins getting to Bullets. And he is just completely obsessed and spends every waking moment trying to capture Carrot Top and bring him to justice, because he feels unappreciated. He feels that this is the one case that he hasn't been able to close, and this is what will afford him the kind of prestige that he doesn't get. Because again, as the synopsis says, he is the down on his luck private eye. Of course, issue 2 is, or collection 2, the trade of the second story, Bullets Bourbon, Knock on Wood. We introduce Pencil Neck, who again is sort of my Joker, my trickster to Bullets Bourbon. And that's a fun story. It's meant to be a little more slapstick, a little more kind of based on the scare comedies of the 40s, the Bowery Boys, Abbott and Costello, where you have a scary monster, but then you have the comedic team getting into slapstick scenarios. Very amusing. And then Bullets Bourbon number 3, When the Night Comes, is the team up of Carrot Top and Pencil Neck. They both join forces. And the plan is, in that case, for world domination. They are going to erase the capital of Washington, D.C. with a Eraserhead missile of Carrot Top's design. And, of course, Bullets Bourbon is pressed into service by the government, by a top-secret government agency, to foil this plot. Then, of course, we come to Bullets Bourbon issue number 7, The Family Jewels. The Family Jewels, again, meaning Carrot Top's father, Parsnip Top, who is a don of a powerful crime organization in Stark City. We got the Stark City 5 families. His is the most powerful, and of course the second most powerful is Adam Apple and the Fruit Salad Mob, and they go to war over a priceless antique statuette. The storyline is carried on in Bullets Bourbon number 8, Temptation Eyes. Bullets Bourbon number 8, of course, we see the meeting of Bullets Bourbon and Veronica Sinclair. We are now finally going to reveal her last name, Veronica Sinclair. And Bullets, of course, doesn't trust her, and she is the Temptation Eyes in the title. Of course, the great Grassroots song is an inspiration there. And she attempts to tempt Bullets to her side, going to tempt him to the dark side, if you will. And Veronica is a very interesting character. We'll talk about her and her motivations and so forth a little more in a moment. But Temptation Eyes is available also on the website. The button really doesn't look as cool as the others because I couldn't link it to PayPal. So what this button is going to do, it's going to take you to Indie Planet, and there you will see how to purchase it. Let's take a look here first, before we continue on, at the Indie Planet website. If you press the button, you will be taken to the Indie Planet website, and looky here, listed as number 5. All right, excuse me, number 5. I can count. Number 5 on the new arrivals is The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon, Private Eye, Casebook number 8, Family Jewels Act 2. As you can see, you can get the digital download as well for $1.99. I priced it $1.99. The issue itself will come to you $5.50. I kind of like having things have a round number. I should probably just get rid of the 50 cents. But as of now, $5.50 for The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon number 8. If you are into the digital, you can get the digital download for $1.99. And of course, on my website, you can be taken directly to my catalog of stuff. Let's see here what the copy says. Magazine type comic, you're getting a larger than average sized comic. Full color, page count 24. Bullets continues his obsessive quest to bring Carrot Top to justice. Joining forces with Carrot Top's gorgeous femme fatale, Veronica, the pair plan to find the priceless statue before Carrot Top does. Meanwhile, Carrot Top is tasked with finding the traitor in the ranks of his father's gang. So, very exciting. And of course, here now, down below, you can find some of the individual issues. The individual issues are a little bit cheaper because, of course, this is before I remastered them. These are I was going to take them down, but quite honestly, I feel like the old adage is don't leave money on the table. Now, I would recommend that you get the remasters if you really want to see and compare how the originals look. Of course, the first issue I did hand coloring with pencils and markers. And again, I'm very impressed with it. It's a very big seller. That's the one I probably sell the most, the original copy. And again, someday, hopefully that'll be worth some money to you because the original printing the ad in the back is different than all the others. So if you order one of them now and you've seen me in like my first year's worth of conventions when I was selling the first printing, you probably got a collector's item on your hands there, because not only was it signed by me in most cases, I mean, a couple of were sold um, via the internet where I didn't, from Indie Planet, where I didn't autograph them. But if you got one, that was from that first printing, you're really going to have a collector's item there. All right, and then lower on the scale here, of course, the this is the collection here. We have the trade of When the Night Comes. That's $10.50. I know that the digital downloads are usually a little bit cheaper than trying to price it as the full price, but I really want you guys to appreciate the comic, is kind of why. Bullets Bourbon issue 7 looks a little bit high there. I think I got to change that price. I don't know how that happened. I think I didn't. I think that I just gave them, or they just gave me the price of what it should be priced, but I always try to change the price, make it a little cheaper. So I got to go back and do that for that. So by the time you watch this video, it might already be changed. I don't know. But yeah, I try not to sell any of my comics for any more than $5, unless of course it's a collection. Because like I said, When the Night Comes, that is the whole collection is like a 50-something page issue. So obviously I'm going to have to price that one a little more than some of these others that are 20-odd pages. But again, so check out Indie Planet. Make sure you are checking out my website below. That way you can find the link to Indie Planet. You'll be able to pick up the most recent issue. And of course, as it says here, if you are a store, if you have a comic shop, you get a 25% off discount when you order 5 copies or more. And again, I've had a few shops do that, and it's really, beneficial, because they get to sell it at a little bit cheaper and obviously make more money, which is something I think everybody likes. All right, so again, we'll take a look at some of these panels. Most of them you probably have seen before, but let's see. All right, as I said, in this storyline, Bullets Bourbon is obsessed with finding Carrot Top. He has evaded his grasp for many a long time, and he's finally just so fed up with it, he is willing to sort of break away from his partners here, Joe Thursday and Chubby O'Reilly, and he's seriously willing to dabble with the dark side in order to, find Carrot Top. And that's kind of what the story is about. The story is about him being beckoned by the dark side, and he's in a weak place now. He is susceptible to being tempted, because he doesn't really realize what he is, how he's letting his guard down. He doesn't really realize what he's walking into. And of course, as we saw in the previous issue, Veronica is working for Carrot Top. And as I said, she is a very interesting character, because when I started writing the story originally, and I wrote these stories when I was in my teens, when I originally wrote the story, she was sort of just the more, typical temptress, the femme fatale, the stumbling block to the hero. But as I went on writing her, one of the great things that happens for a writer is when a character sort of takes on a life of their own, and you think they're going to be a certain way, and they reintroduce themselves to you somewhat differently. And with Veronica, I realized that I was looking at her very superficially. And the question came up, is she the way she is because she can easily manipulate men and bend them to her will? And if she can do that so easily, then why not take advantage of it? Or is it because she's been put in a pretty bleak position where she is very put upon, she is indebted to Carrot Top. And so this kind of persona that she has is sort of a defensive mechanism, I suppose, that she has to do this to survive, seeing as how she's surrounded by the criminal element and has to trade with them regularly. So in a way, to protect herself, she sort of puts up this veneer of being the sort of soulless temptress. I don't know that I really made a argument on either side of that argument. I mean, I don't think that I've resolved the issue, and I'm really interested if people read the book, if what you think of her after you've read it. Do you think that she's truly evil? Do you think she's sort of like just been put in a bad position and tried to make the most of it? That's something that Bullets is trying to figure out as well in the story. And as I said, I don't know that it's particularly resolved. Also, something else that I talked about some of the stuff on Twitter. Another thing that I was interested in exploring with this story is, again, because this is somewhat of a more serious story than the previous ones. This is a little bit of a more serious take. Of course, it's still a lot of fun. There's still a lot of laughs and stuff, but I think this one is more, certainly more. There's a message to it, and I think, as I said, as a teenager when I wrote this, I was kind of also considering, because as I said, Bullets Bourbon was inspired by the '80s action heroes. I, grew up as a little child in the '80s with a steady diet of the A-Team, Knight Rider, MacGyver, and all that stuff. And one of the things that was different about what I wanted to do with Bullets Bourbon than with the typical macho action hero is sort of that he has a moral compass. That, the alpha male macho heroes, basically, they had no compunction about, conquesting, so to speak, the ladies in their lives, regardless if they were good or evil or whatever. And that was something I made a conscious decision to avoid with Bullets Bourbon. That he is a sort of a chaste character. This is something that I think superhero and action hero in the modern context have lost. This is something that was originally sort of in like the Knights of the Round Table and King Arthur, where your power was to come from your chastity, that your pure heartedness, that you were going to do good, that you were not going to take advantage of the fleshly, you know, opportunities that came to you, that you were going to remain pure if you were going to find the Holy Grail. And of course that, society mocks that now. I think you see that a lot, even like in, I would say the closest thing we have to that maybe in the modern day is, on the one hand, from DC Superman, but they've kind of changed the character now to he's got to be married and have kids and stuff. So you don't kind of really get that. And of course, on the Marvel side, there's Captain America, which for some reason they still have to. They're constantly debating if he's a virgin and this and that in this day and age, which I think they've kind of missed the obvious there by trying to read their own, their own standard of machismo or whatever into him. But again, so this is like, I wanted to create a male action hero here who's going to be a role model. And it was very important that, again, I don't think this is a spoiler, but the idea that he does resist the temptation, in the story Temptation Eyes, that he does resist, and that, he becomes a role model. And again, there is a component to the story, which I've mentioned before as well. And, well, let me change the image. We'll keep changing the images while we're talking about it. The idea is this story also has a Christian message. And that was something that was important to me too. I think as a writer, as a comic book creator, I see myself very clearly as an entertainer. My idea of doing comics has always been to entertain, not to preach. Of course, I've always been against that. That's sort of also the tenets of Comicsgate, if you will, is always, to do entertainment that will take you away from something, to take you away from your troubles, not to really weigh you down, particularly with an ideology or something of that effect. But I think the writer always desires to say something important at one point. And I think this was my story where I wanted to make that important Christian declaration that Bullets Bourbon is a Christian and that he's having this crisis. He's having this, and again, I usually try to just make these things, escapist and you know, not really dealing with some deep dark issue, but he's dealing with a lot of the stuff that I've dealt with in my life as well: anxiety, depression, obsession, fear, all these things that he's not feeling like he's reaching his potential. And I poured all that onto Bullets Bourbon in this, and it creates in him this massive spiritual crisis that he's going through. And of course, the only way he gets himself out of that is to return to the basics of his faith. And he realizes that he's being tempted, that he's fallen off the garden path somewhat. He's allowed himself to be distracted and take all these worldly pursuits of, I want to be famous, I want love, I want this, I want that. But then again, what is his purpose? What is his purpose in life? And what is he doing to accomplish that purpose? Is he getting off the beaten path by taking a counterfeit solace in something? Because that's what it is. It's a counterfeit solace. You're not reaching your full potential when you're just taking that high for a moment, when you're just trying to notch your belt and say, in his case, he's trying to capture Carrot Top. Then people will notice that he's a great detective, that in the previous issue, he was in love with Desiree, and Desiree was already interested in somebody else, and it was a failed attempt at a romance. And now does he just jump into this romance that he could possibly have with Veronica? But her intentions are not exactly noble, are they? She's working for Carrot Top and she's a criminal. And again, that's another concept as well that I wanted to explore, was the idea of doing the multi-layered story. Now, a lot of people, in this day and age, I think it started in the 90s. The 90s really is when media went down. I mean, music was bad, sitcoms were ruined, and the action heroes started getting more and more mature, and they really didn't afford the young generation anything to hold on to as it was in my generation, and of course generations before me. I mean, we still have sort of an all ages media in superheroes, I think, in this day and age still, but for the most part, the action hero, it's like I said, it's going fast if it hasn't disappeared in the 90s. And the idea was to do a multi-layered story. I've always preached this when it comes to the superhero movies now. When you hear me doing a Torch News Roundup and we're talking about the movies, I'm always saying how there's this craze. We need an R-rated Batman. We need an R-rated Wolverine, Deadpool, whatever. Punisher. Some of them maybe could get away with an R-rated, but certain things like Batman, for example, I would even argue Wolverine, it doesn't help when you're excluding the target audience, the original demographic. And the same thing here with Bullets Bourbon. We're dealing with these weighty subjects, but a good writer is supposed to be able to take that and be able to make it accessible to all ages, whether it's your 90-year-old grandma, whether it's your 5-year-old child, or whether it's you in your 30s and 40s. The idea is to have it accessible on different levels. So for instance, when Veronica's tempting Bullets Bourbon, a young kid, a child, and it's like, say, 8 or 9 years old or whatever, sees that as being, she wants him to be a bad guy and steal with her and this and that. But then again, it works on another level for an adult who sees that Bullets is being put into a position of being tempted, physically and emotionally, as well as just, well, she wants him to be a bad guy and steal stuff with her. And what does that really entail, that he joins forces with her and becomes her partner? A lot of that stuff is written in between the lines. And again, a good writer should be able to do that. And again, not to toot my own horn, but I think I've done as good a job of that as anybody can. So that was very rewarding with the story as well. We'll look at a couple more images here before we wrap up. We've got I'm going to show you at the end of this broadcast, I'm going to show you the first released image of the next issue, which is tentatively titled "The Death of Bullets Bourbon." Of course, this is Adam Apple and Corey Apple, and they are the arch enemies of Parsnip Top and, of course, Carrot Top. Carrot Top is trying to find the traitor in his family. There's a traitor in the ranks, and in the previous issue, the family jewels, someone set up Parsnip Top to get hit, to get whacked, and Carrot Top is trying to find out who in fact did this. Meanwhile, Bullets and Veronica go to Adam Apple's speakeasy to try to find out what happened to the statuette and make a deal. And of course, Bullets goes incognito. He goes in disguise. And again, this is very much a very 90s thing where he's all in black. That's something that lasted even into the 2000s. With the X-Men, everyone had to wear black, and Bullets, of course, is a little more violent here than he's ever been before because he's flirting with the dark side. You can see him leaping into action here, and that's one of the things I like to do. Try to provide a lot of action and a lot of excitement and thrills. This is the fight scene inside the speakeasy. Got another image ready here. Let's take a look. A lot of people, I got a lot of feedback here where people enjoy this. The fight in the speakeasy, and Veronica, of course, is part of that fight as well. She's leaping into action here as well. This is a lot of fun because Veronica's a fun character as well for that reason. I mean, Desiree was a damsel in distress, and that's what she was expected to be. And again, I've said this before, probably talking about the previous issue, but you have to write the characters as honestly as possible. Desiree was supposed to be a singer, an actress, a starlet, and beyond maybe knowing a little self-defense that everyone's taught a little bit of self-defense, she wasn't up to the task of joining Bullets Bourbon in an adventure, and she was basically a damsel in distress for that storyline. That doesn't mean she was completely helpless. If you read the story, you'll see, especially in the last act, but she wasn't a talented fighter. She wasn't skilled in any ways in that respect. And in this case, it does make it more fun that Veronica has been trained in combat, that she knows how to fight. She knows how to take care of herself. And that's why different characters have different skill sets. They do different things. And, that's why the SJW, and I guess we went pretty far before I started getting into my SJW rants, but how they ruin comics, which is, well, they have to have, there's got to be a female character that's as powerful as the man, no, it's more fun this way when you see that she can be a proper helper to Bullets Bourbon. This is kind of like where you get, a Marion Ravenwood for an Indiana Jones, where she's a competent partner that can really help him. And she's really useful in that sense during this adventure. And that's not something where she's taking the focus off of him. She's not taking any steam off him. He's still the star of the show, but it's fun to be able to see that she can keep up with him, and is of course very helpful without trying to, you know, take the focus off him and try to make it an SJW thing where we have to make sure a box is checked, where we're showing that a female can, be as capable as him. And of course, that's kind of in Bullets' nature. If you see the story, you'll realize that he isn't entirely comfortable with that, and he would rather try to protect her than let her put herself in the danger. So again, that's sort of him being that moral center that he has, and putting that to use. Unlike, as I said, in fiction today, in the media, they really do try to push that storyline of, well, you know, she can take a punch with the best of them and so forth. I never particularly found that appropriate. And you can even see, like I said, and I've said before, in many cases in action scenes, the villains are just sort of trying to apprehend the female. She in this case, like the banana here, is like trying to apprehend her, not necessarily punch her in the face. And again, that's kind of just my outlook at it. I mean, I don't want to really see violence against women and then try to say, well, she's an equal of a man, she can take it, let them punch her in the face and stuff. I don't feel that's appropriate, really. I never felt proper with that. All right, so before we wrap it up here, let's see. We got one more image, and if I've done my job right, and I think I have, I think it leaves you with a question. I mean, would you, if you were in Bullets Bourbon's place, would you join Veronica? Would you be her partner? Would that be succumbing to the temptation? Would you turn evil? And, is he going to do the right thing? Is he going to be true to himself and his standards and his morality? And again, this story I'm proud of because it makes you think a little more. I think that's what it was designed to do anyway. I mean, I don't personally feel that every story has to challenge you, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, or whatever. But it's satisfying in a way when they do, and that's why I think I enjoyed doing this story. And again, the last few stories have been good on different levels, on different merits. For example, like the When the Night Comes, probably one of my favorite stories I've ever written. I really enjoyed that because I really got to take the sort of all the tropes. And when I say tropes, that's not always a negative term. Tropes are good because that's the reason why they're tropes. People use them because they're effective. And I got to use a lot of those effective tropes, I guess, in When the Night Comes. And of course, like I said, setting up the second story, when the Knock on Wood, as sort of a screwball comedy, a scare comedy, that was a lot of fun. So the idea is always to try to, take the storylines in a direction, not necessarily always do it in the same way, but to try to play up different elements and, do something a little different, do something that you can try a different method on, look at it from a different angle. One's a little more funny than the other. One's a little more serious. And again, I've tried to set up Bullets Bourbon's universe in a way that you can take them seriously, and the issues have stakes, that it's not just all fun and games. But then again, there are other times when you could tell it's really tongue-in-cheek, and there's going to be some wacky humor that, you can broach any kind of story in the Bullets Bourbon universe, and that's the way I purposefully set it up. All right, so let us look now. We are going to look at the first revealed image from the next issue. The next issue, we're tentatively calling it The Death of Bullets Bourbon. I think there's going to be a different title when we actually get it to print, but that's what it's going to be called. I mean, that's the overall thought, the overall storyline. And to set the stage, at the end of Temptation Eyes, Bullets Bourbon's friends, Joe Thursday and Chubby O'Reilly, have been captured by Carrot Top, and he wants the statuette, and he is going to orchestrate a trade. And it's a very cold, snowy February morning, very early in the morning. And, well, here you go. Take a look at it. This is from Bullets Bourbon number 9 that I'm in the middle of working on. And again, I'm making great progress with this one. This is only going to be 12 pages. We're going to pad it with some more stuff so that it won't be just 12. But I mean, it's 12 story pages. And it's going to be pretty exciting. It's going to be pretty exciting to see exactly how this winds up. Because with a story titled The Death of Bullets Bourbon, you know something's going to go down. It's sort of designed to be a Holmes versus Moriarty. Not everyone is going to come out of this unscathed. And, well, you're just going to have to wait and see exactly what that entails. All right, so one last time, I'm going to recommend you to my website. The link is in the description below, The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye. You can find our link here, like I said, at the top of the page. Indie Planet will take you there to everything you want to see about Bullets Bourbon on Indie Planet. You can buy all your copies there. If you want an autographed copy, as I said, I can only do it for certain issues. You'll find that on the bottom half of the page. But check out Indie Planet. You can find the entire collection of Bullets Bourbon issues, the saga, as we call it, the Bullets Bourbon saga, Bullets Bourbon Private Eye there. And leave a like, share, and subscribe. Comment below. We'll try to read your comments on the subsequent broadcast. And again, check us out on Twitter, and we'll let you know if we're going to have any more appearances coming up. And so, until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.